Welcome to Elselah Books Podcast. Okay, let's just jump right in. Today, we're doing a deep dive into some really foundational source material. It all focuses on establishing a long-term legacy,
That's right.
specifically through the lens of, well, two things: God's plan for marriage and this essential daily practice that the sources call the family altar.
And our mission here, really, is to move beyond just abstract ideals. We're synthesizing these sources to look at the practical, the actual mechanics of building a godly
And
household.
mechanics, yeah.
We're studying two core pillars. First, you have the indispensable strength and harmony of the spousal relationship. And second, the concrete, consistent spiritual practice that, keeps the whole structure from collapsing.
And what immediately grabs your attention is just how monumental the stakes are that the sources assign to the family unit. We're told the family is nothing less than the production factory for the society. That's such a powerful analogy.
It really is.
It means the character, the values, the spiritual health you cultivate in your home today that actually determines the future trajectory of your community, maybe even the nation. It's a compelling, really high-stakes charge. So, if the family is the factory, where does the instruction manual begin? The sources trace this mandate way back to the earliest patriarchal foundation. They show us that this kind of generational instruction, it's not optional, it's the way of the Lord.
It starts with defining the parent's role as one of active leadership. Just consider the narrative of Abraham in Genesis 18. God chose Abraham not just to be the father of a great nation. The text specifies why he revealed his plans to him.
Okay.
It was so Abraham could command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice.
Command. That's a strong word. It's not gently suggest.
No, not at all.
It implies direction, accountability, and real intentionality. It establishes the parent as like the spiritual director of the home.
Exactly. And that concept of constant active teaching is reinforced hundreds of years later through Moses. Our sources point to Deuteronomy 6.7, which is just a radical concept in generational instruction.
It is.
Parents are commanded to impress the love for God with all their heart, soul, and strength upon their children. But the key is when this teaching has to happen.
It's the constant 20 to 47 immersion that really stands out. It's not a once-a-week event.
Precisely. This instruction has to happen all throughout the day. When you're sitting at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down to rest, and when you get up in the morning.
So it's creating an environment where faith is just. It's the constant background noise, not some special subject you study separately.
That's a good way to put it. Then we see that generation baton passed again with the psalmist in Psalm 78, emphasizing this need to declare God's greatness and his glorious deeds to the next generation, even to children not yet born. The intention here is profoundly practical. It's for creating resilience. The goal is that the generations to come might know, understand the mighty acts of God, and set their hope anew on God.
So by having that spiritual context, that history, they're better equipped to avoid the pitfalls of their ancestors, being stubborn, rebellious, and unfaithful.
It links history to future hope. Exactly.
So, to summarize this first part, to develop children who are prepared for life, the sources are clear. You need parents who actively model, teach, and command faith continually. But that strong command structure, it seems like it would be impossible to maintain if the foundation of the home itself is shaky.
Core?
It sounds like you can't really command your kids effectively if the marriage isn't unified. Is that why the sources pivot so strongly to the spousal relationship next?
That's the critical link. The sources emphasize that love, and they draw this from 1 Corinthians, is the operational engine. If the engine is sputtering, the command structure fails. And what's fascinating is how detailed the New Testament guidance is about relational harmony. It defines love by concrete action, not just, emotion.
We see that repeated instruction to love one another, but that love is immediately encased in these character requirements. James tells us we must be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger.
So important.
That seems incredibly important in a marriage context where tempers can flare over tiny things.
It's essential because, as the source notes, human anger doesn't produce the righteousness God requires. And Ephesians tells couples how to repair that inevitable friction. Be kind, compassionate, and forgiving.
Just as in Christ, God forgave you.
Right. This moves the relationship from, say, a transactional agreement to a covenant built on grace.
And if you strip away the theological language for a second and just look at the psychology of it, 1 Corinthians 13 gives you this almost disruptive operating manual for a marriage. I'm thinking specifically of those definitions. Love is patient, kind, not envious, and this is the big one, it keeps no record of wrongs.
That last point is maybe the most crucial for long-term health. If the family unit is the production factory, then keeping a record of wrongs is sabotage.
You're collecting ammunition.
Exactly. You're collecting ammunition rather than building trust. The sources insist that the atmosphere must be one of constant, proactive forgiveness to maintain health.
So let's look at the specific mandates for spouses, because they set an extremely high bar. For husbands, the core command in Ephesians is to love their wives as Christ loved the church. I mean, that sounds impossible.
What an incredibly high standard.
Do the sources give any specific achievable steps for that, or is it just aspirational?
Oh, they definitely ground it in reality. They immediately pair that sacrificial standard with clear daily behavior. 1 Peter 3.7 is powerful here. Husbands must honor their wives and treat them with understanding.
Understanding.
Yes, and this understanding is rooted in recognizing that she is an equal partner in God's gift of new life. So in practical terms, this means valuing her input, her spiritual life, her role, and they're explicitly warned not to be harsh or dismissive.
And for wives, the sources give us that powerful image in Proverbs. A wife of noble character is her husband's crown.
It's a statement of honor, of value, of respect.
The entire framework just emphasizes absolute faithfulness and this unifying principle that deep love covers a multitude of sins, this whole relational dynamic. It's a foundation everything else is built on. It secures the integrity of the home.
Okay, so if the teaching mandate is the map and the marriage is the engine, then this family altar must be the practical vehicle, the dedicated time for actually implementing all of this.
No, that's a great way to put it.
What is this practice exactly, and why is it so vital to the so-called production factory?
The family altar is defined as a corporate altar. It's a consecrated place, not necessarily a physical thing, but a dedicated time, where the family worships God together. It affirms that God is the absolute center of the household.
And it provides a specific context for prayer and direction.
And leadership, yes. This echoes all the way back to the Old Testament. The sources remind us of Abram building an altar to the Lord as soon as he entered Canaan. Right. That altar became the focus of his entire family life. It was a site for worship, for direction, for everything.
And the sources list some huge benefits. It establishes spiritual consciousness, it increases spiritual strength, it sustains unity, which is crucial for navigating conflict. And it ensures the home isn't wrecked by bitterness. And importantly, it's highlighted as a great avenue to hear God for family direction.
But there's a warning that comes with it that really underscores its necessity, isn't there?
Absolutely. The sources explicitly state that without an active family altar, the spiritual environment in the home becomes vulnerable. It allows, and I'm quoting, the enemy to have his way in our families and in the lives of our spouses and children.
So it's presented as the core defense mechanism?
It is, against both internal friction and external pressures. This altar time, then, becomes the primary training ground for children. It's how you fulfill that promise in Proverbs. Train up a child the way he should go.
And when he is old, he will not depart from it.
It creates a proactive, protective environment. This is where children learn the fundamentals. How to worship, how to honor God's word, and how to develop the convictions they need to stand firm against competing worldviews.
The sources specifically mention humanistic evolutionary philosophy.
Right, which really means any teaching that centers human values and self-will above divine command. The altar provides the counter-narrative.
And it's also where the practical meets the spiritual. The sources detail how the altar is where family needs are shared openly. School challenges, relationship problems, character struggles like timidity or fear.
Family finances, dad's work needs. And it extends outward, too. It becomes the place to intercede for others, the pastor, missionaries, the sick, even civil leaders. It teaches kids their spiritual life is connected to the world around them.
Okay, so for you listening, the biggest question is probably the practical side. For a tired parent coming home late, what makes the family altar actually work?
The sources are very specific on what to avoid. Avoid boring routine, forced listening, long dry prayers, criticism, gossiping. If it feels like a punishment, it's going to fail.
So the goal is to avoid drudgery and establish something delightful.
Exactly. You have to make it a delightful, happy, interesting time. Keep it short and sweet. Find a convenient time that respects everyone's schedule, even if that shifts daily. The aim is connection, not just compliance.
And participation is key to that delight.
Absolutely. Everyone participates. Take turns reading, praying. The sources even suggest letting older children conduct the worship time sometimes. which builds their spiritual development and confidence.
And the content can be varied.
Very varied. Read Bible stories, the miracles of Christ, characters like Job or Hannah. Study what sins to avoid. Use age-appropriate devotionals. Memorize verses. You can even read inspiring biographies of people like D.L. Moody or William Tyndale. The emphasis is always on making the content relatable and the environment positive.
So to really appreciate the power of all this intentionality, the daily teaching, the loving marriage, the family altar, we have to look at the long-term historical consequences. Let's transition to that dramatic, multi-generational comparison the sources give us.
We look first at Jonathan Edwards, the renowned Puritan preacher from the 1700s. Our sources detail his family practice as just a model of these principles we've been discussing.
Okay, what did he do?
Every single night, he spent an hour conversing with his family and praying a blessing over each of his 11 children. He and his wife, Sarah, were intentionally laying the groundwork for a profound legacy.
And the results, I mean, they were tracked by A.E. Winship 150 years later, and they are statistically stunning.
They really are.
Among his trace descendants, they found 1 U.S. vice president, 3 U.S. senators, 13 college presidents, 100 clergymen, and 285 college graduates. And it's noted that Mrs. Edwards is credited with much of the family's character, which just underscores that vital partnership.
Now, you contrast that staggering success with a man named Max Jukes, who lived in New York around the same time and, well, rejected godly instruction.
Right.
The Jukes family came to public attention when researchers traced the family trees of 42 men in the New York prison system all the way back to him. Of the 1,200 descendants they studied, the findings included 7 murderers, 60 thieves, 190 prostitutes, 150 other convicts, and 310 paupers.
It's just overwhelming destruction. Over a third, 440 of them were physically wrecked by alcohol addiction. 300 died prematurely. It's the complete antithesis of the Edwards family.
And this contrast is what highlights what some have called the 5-generation rule.
What's that?
It's this idea that it's not just about your immediate children. It means the foundational environment you create, the love, the values, the emotional stability. It influences not just your kids, but the next 4 generations that follow. It's a spiritual force multiplier, operating either for good or evil.
That implication is. It's sobering. Every deliberate choice you make today about your spouse and your children is planting seeds whose fruit will be consumed by people you will never even meet.
The family factory is always running.
So you're never just building for the present moment, you're determining the long-term, multi-generational trajectory of your entire lineage.
That's it.
So what does this challenge mean for you, the listener, today? If someone studied your descendants 4 generations from now, what legacy would you want them to discover? Would it be that trajectory of flourishing, like the Edwards family, or the tragic one of the Jukes? The life you live right now, the intentionality you bring into your marriage and your home, that determines the legacy you leave. This has been an incredibly thorough deep dive. We've covered the core ingredients needed to establish a strong family legacy, drawing directly from these sources. The foundational mandate to teach the way of the Lord continually, the critical practice of love and kindness in the marriage, and the commitment to the family altar as the central, practical place of spiritual training.
We'd really encourage you to engage directly with the source material. Dig into those scriptures, focus on God's plan for marriage, and start applying those practical suggestions for the family altar today.
Try reading this in Bible. Be blessed. Thank you for listening, and do subscribe to our channel for more.